has always been a problem, and it always will be. In the past 14 years, the anti-bullying movement has gained popularity because of the countless middle and high school suicides, shootings, and other tragic stories.
There are three main types of bullying: physical and verbal, cyber, and covert. Many side effects to bullying, many which lead into people's adult lives. Common health issues include depression, withdrawal, anxiety, loneliness, decreased performance in normal activities, and a loss of confidence. In adulthood, a victim can experience increased risks of health problems, smoking and substance abuse, psychiatric disorders, and difficulty with commitment in relationships and jobs.
Unfortunately, there is no absolute way to completely stop bullying. The only thing we can do is decrease the amount of bullying.
As a result, we are proposing to teach kids at a younger age that bullying will not be tolerated and that it has many harmful effects on a person. By aiming lessons about bullying towards elementary school-aged children, there will be a better chance at decreasing the amount of bullying in middle school and high schools because of the early age and influences on these children.
The first step in creating our solution was researching what elementary school kids know and what the schools are already teaching them. 4th through 6th graders at Rose Glen and Bethesda elementary schools answered a short survey for us, answering questions about bullying.
The children were asked what their definition of bullying was. On the graph here, it says that 35% believed that it was being picked on, 28% physical and mental abuse, 20% being mean, 8% didn't answer, 6% said it was for power, and 3% said it was for blackmail and revenge. From their relevant answers, we asked if they had ever gotten bullied. In this graph here, it says 51% bullied, 43% were not bullied, and then 6% were not sure.
To the personal bullying questions, we went around and personally asked some of the teachers questions regarding bullying and what the school does for them. Here I have a graph that shows the statistics on this, where 78% recorded that they are doing their part to help in schools, 12% recorded that they did not want to partake in this, and 7% unfortunately said that they did not.
Another question asked was if they believe assemblies about bullying and awareness were useful or a waste of time. It was mostly split, saying that they believe the assemblies don't do anything, they're simply a waste of time, and ours as well. For the people who put in the worthwhile section also stated that it's just a way to get out of class.
The question asked was where most of the bullying happens. The top two answers were during recess and on the playground without supervision. From the data collected, it seemed like the students would benefit the most from getting help in the problem area of on the playground. Recess has the least amount of adult supervision, leaving bullies with more freedom to get away with more.
Bullies tend to have certain characteristics as do their victims. Bullies need to have the need to feel powerful and in control. This is why we had interviewed some teachers regarding bullying, and here's what they had said.
What are the typical characteristics of a bully? What are the typical characteristics of a victim of bullying? The characteristics of a bully, I kind of figure bullying has a lot to do with heredity, I think. If kids are brought up in a household where they see parents who are belittling people all the time or not respecting people, that it kind of transitions over to the kids. I think it's kids with low self-esteem a lot of times, kids who don't feel good about themselves try to gain recognition through bullying in order to draw attention to themselves. Kids who have really no concern for feelings, I think, are bullies. Ones who really don't have any knowledge of how others feel, just kind of the me person who I'm all about myself and I really don't care about how anybody else feels about anything. Those kids tend to be bullies, and probably ones that are I'm thinking like on a power trip, ones that want to be the popular one and they want to look good amongst their peers. The leaders, sometimes the leaders are the worst ones because they set the worst example.
Elementary tends to be a little more physical. You know, in case of a fight or have a scrap that way, and then it's true, you know, and it tends to be more overt. You know what I mean? By overt, it's more transparent. Kids are, you know, I don't like what you said, and boom, I'm going to try to intimidate you with my fist.
No filter.
Yeah, where by the time you get to high school, it tends to, you know, the physical tends to go away and it becomes more relational. It becomes more about, I see you in the hallway, I'm going to try to intimidate you, or I'm going to say something mean to you and to two of your friends about you, and I'm going to see if I can get you in trouble that way. I'm going to try to harass you in some, you know, I don't want to call it a subtle way, but kids try to be subtle, even though they're not always that subtle.
Find someone they can maybe push around that's easy for them to push around.
Recently, more and more bullying cases have been seen in the news. Pro Football has their case earlier this year with the Dolphins teammates Pouncey and Incognito. School students have been the link to shooters as being bullied. In October 2013, a middle school student in Nevada opened fire at a middle school, killing a math teacher and wounded several 12-year-olds. The shooter was being bullied at the school and retaliated. Another infamous case is the 15-year-old suicide of Phoebe Prince due to the cyber and physical bullying in high school. She committed suicide. Unfortunately, too many cases have shown up in the past year, and both adults and students silently pleading for a solution to their ignored cases.
Increased amount of technology in the world, it can affect the lives of people, whether intentional or not.
10 years ago when I started here. 10 years this year. 10 years ago we had like little to no technology in this building. There was a couple computers, but we didn't use email, we didn't do anything. Just last year we started with all Gmail, docs, emails, and everything, and there has been, the only things we have been like playground things, and then this year we've had a couple things going around on emails. Kids texting each other, which we now disabled the text feature on their iPads. That whole newspaper thing I was telling you about before, which is pretty bad.
That's really ingenious.
Yeah, smart, very creative, but just used on the wrong platform, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was really good until they had the gossip section in there, and then the gossip section, they were all going after one girl, which was bad. So, I think the technology has changed things big time, because now it's all done, anything they do, like they text at night, they send emails, they'll send, you know, silly emails, but there hasn't.
The pros and cons. The con with technology, though, is that people don't tend to forget kind of the fancy word, salacious details. They like the juicy details. People like the story about someone who got harmed, and that's where like other people start reading it, and then they send it to somebody else, and that kind of perpetuates the cycle of, are you part of the problem or part of the solution? A lot of people tend to be part of the problem and not thinking that it's a problem, because oh, it happened to somebody else, and they don't want to stand up and say, hey, wait a second, this is wrong. You know, you don't treat people this way, even if it is on social media, or even if it's not someone face to face. You don't treat people this way.
When talking to Mr. Gardner, our school psychologist, we realized that bullying is an issue that people tend to ignore. Technology has made bullying a lot easier due to social media sites and smartphones, which also changed the way people treat each other. According to Mr. Gardner and Officer Hallmark, the school resource officer, there are 2 to 3 new cases each week of bullying. Not necessarily physical bullying, but cyber, verbal, and covert.
On how frequently we have bullying cases, but on an average, I would say probably somewhere between, 2 to 5 times a week is how many times we have bullying cases.
Important to raise awareness of what people post and comment, especially with younger children. Part of my solution included creating an anti-bullying group with the help of Mr. Gardner and Mr. Hardert. The group would have a goal of raising awareness and what an individual should do if bullying is happening. The group would be composed of students who care about bullying and possibly a couple victims. From there, our group would travel to elementary and middle schools in Waukesha, talking about the effects of bullying and the different types. We believe that this would be influential because young children tend to idolize the big kids, which makes raising awareness easier because they listen to us versus an older adult. To speaking to classes, the group would make posters to show and remind students about the choices they make. They could be as simple as think before you post, like this one here, or even explaining that bullying with a victim and a bystander, that there's 3 parts to every bullying case. It's just a little reminder to get people to think before they do something.
I don't know, she's probably 8th grade now. She was here, and she was, wonderful girl, nice girl, no problems socially or anything like that, no. And she had this locker that was right next to this girl who was just, was kind of a bully. She came in every day, took her locker, slammed it open, slammed it into this girl's stuff, or would go up and just close her locker and be like, you need to put your stuff away 'cause I'm in my locker. That kind. It was kind of bullying every day, like a daily thing. And she talked to her guidance counselor, mom talked to the guidance counselor, and eventually that kind of helped. They moved her locker to kind of fix the situation. But I think that would be huge if there were some high schoolers that came back, even ones that maybe went to this school and might kind of remember how it is.
Oh yeah.
And come back and say, hey, I know things are a little different, but this is what you're going to be faced with. This is some of the stuff we've seen. This is, obviously appropriate ones too.
Right, not like the really bad ones.
Yeah, not the worst, like nothing sexual, nothing, awful, but just kind of a good example, typical example case of bullying
Like
to say,
what
hey,
not to do.
yeah, this is what's going to happen. You guys got to make sure if you see this.
Hi, I didn't see you there.
Hi.
I was just hanging out with my new best bud over here. Yeah, and we're talking about the anti-bullying walk. The color for it is green.
Right, and this walk will be going on May 1st of 2014. They're selling T-shirts for $7 each, and there's no obligations to participate in the walk. It would be benefiting a great cause.
Now we're best buds. Got my homework done right?